Well, my family are Trinidadians, in actual fact, but my mum was Grenadian, and got an elder sister and brother. When she was having me, she went back to Grenada. She'd split from my father, didn't really know him. But then 6 years in Grenada, then moved to Trinidad for 3 years. My mum was doing she was a single parent, so she was doing lots of different jobs, and she started to work on a ship. And she'd been to England, I think, on the ship, and met up with my uncle, and had a discussion with him, and felt that there's a better opportunity for us to be in England. So she sent my brother and myself first. My brother's 13, I was 9. And she promised us faithfully she'd join us with my sister after 2 years. But she sold it to us as a bit of an adventure. I mean, I can't even remember the crossing to Trinidad. I think we went on a boat. So I'd never been on a plane. My brother had, because he'd lived a short while in Antigua. So it's very exciting for us. I mean, she really, well, you can imagine, 9 years old, I'm thinking, crikey, I'll leaving my mum. But she really did sell it to us as an adventure. And well, I was looking forward to it, the journey on the plane, and very exciting. We arrived in Heathrow in April '62, and my first impression was, my God, it's cold. It's really cold. So that was, all that story about England is the streets are paved with gold. That was a lie. And we made our way to Tilbury, where my uncle and aunt lived. And the funny thing was, my uncle met us at Heathrow, got on the train to go to Tilbury. He had a little bag with him, pulled out something out of the bag in like a white tea cloth, and he opened it, and we saw this green apple. Well, we'd never seen a green apple, Granny Smith. All the apples in the Caribbean came from America. They were those red, powdery, tasteless apples.
Yeah. And
as he's cutting it for us to have a taste, my brother leaned across to me and he went, "Don't eat it, it'll give you a bellyache." we thought, you can't eat it, it's green. So that was the first impression. Apart from the cold, that was my first impression of landing in England. I'd never seen football. I'd heard about it because in Trinidad, I used to go past the savannah on a regular basis. It was cricket and hockey. Big Indian community in Trinidad. So hockey was a big sport along with the national sport cricket. So I'd never seen football. Came to England, and I've been very fortunate with the way things panned out for me. The boys I fell in with at the school in Tilbury were the football players. Right. And the lad who became one of my best friends in that short time I was there, he introduced me to football. And that's how I started playing. Right. So I was very fortunate. There was a chess club as well, I think, but I didn't get into that. But
yeah. There's still time.
Most players will remember like the first coach or teacher to introduce you to football in an organised way. And the teacher was Miss Fitzgerald. He was the geography teacher. Everybody back in those days, it was all, one teacher did about 4 subjects, and he ran a football team. So I asked my friend said, "Come and ask him for a trial." Had a trial, no boots, nothing at all, useless. And he said to me, "Batson," at the end of the trial, he said, "Where do you come from again, Batson?" I went, "Well, born in Grenada, but came here from Trinidad." He said, "That's in the Caribbean, isn't it?" I said, "Well, yes, sir." He said, "Well, maybe cricket's your game." And I think he must have seen me, my bottom lip starting to tremble, and I was on the verge of tears. And he said, "I'll come back next week then." And we had a big daisy field where we used to live. And I think I spent every day, morning, after school, every evening playing football. And went back for the second trial. I think I nabbed a pair of boots. And that is how I started.
Was it a natural talent or something you had to work hard at?
I must have had a bit of talent because I took to it really well. I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't stop playing. I mean, I remember the pure joy of playing. And then I think I played in a school team, and then out of the blue, I got selected for trials for the Thurrock Boys. This is a junior school, and I played in Thurrock Boys, and we got through to a final. Didn't win it, but we came runners up. My aunt came to see me, but she couldn't see me because it was just thick fog. I could hear her clapping because she had leather gloves on. I couldn't see her, but I could hear her clapping and shouting my name. And I remember the thrill of actually going up and getting a little trophy, whatever it was, for runners up. But it was real. And when we finished that, and after all the trials and that, just going home, we'd stop and play football again. So there was a sheer joy, and I just took to it. I think I just took to it.
So how did Arsenal come into this then, Brendon?
Well, when my mum came to England, because my brother and stuff were living with my uncle and aunt, my mum came and then we'd moved, I think, initially to Chadwell, and then we moved to Walthamstow. But in between, I got spotted by a team in Barking, Rippleway Rangers, they were called. I got approached by a team in Walthamstow. They came to see my mum, and I said, "Yeah, I'll join you." So I started to play for Walthamstow. Walthamstow Sunday team. I was selected to play for Waltham Forest, the district side. And it was whilst playing for the district side, I think I was 13, that one of the old great Arsenal players, George Mayle, played in always forget him, smashing guy, really lovely fella. He came up to me after one of the district games and said, "Would you like to come and train twice a week with Arsenal?" So I said, they had to go through the school. Mum got involved. So I was Arsenal to Highbury, Mondays and Thursday. That's where I started to train with Arsenal.
And the manager at the time was Bertie Mee, was it?
Yes. And not only that, a little while later, when I signed schoolboy forms at 14, it's Ken Pryor. I've just had something to do to send him a good luck note because it's 70 years his association, or his 70th anniversary with Arsenal. But he was the assistant secretary with Bob Wall.
Yeah.
Ken. And we became really good friends, particularly when I was at the PFA, in dealing with former players at the club who needed support in some way. Ken would get in touch with me and say, "Look, we're going to help this particular player, but is there anything the PFA can do?" And we used to liaise and get it done. When we won the FA Youth Cup, at the time, there was Brown Hornsby. Davy Price was one that had a very, very, can also say stellar career, and he suddenly just played cup finals and then seemed to drop out of the scene for some reason. I don't know why. Jimmy D. Garris, Terry Burton.
Yeah.
He was almost mentored by Don Howe. He didn't make it as a player. But Jimmy D. Garris was captain, and they got released after we won the FA Youth Cup, which was a surprise. But Don Howe became a bit of a mentor to Terry, and Terry's become a very, very good coach.
Yeah.
Who else was it? A lad who looked as though he's going to have a fantastic career, very much in the mould of Geordie Armstrong, was a lad called Bobby Harding.
Yeah.
Who sadly got a series of injuries. And I think he just, I remember reading a feature about him, the boy they can't break, but he just kept on trying and trying. I mean, he looks nailed on to have a great career, fantastic attitude, really good athlete, good player. So we had a decent set of young lads, but a lot of
Paul Davis was there as well, wasn't he?
Paul Davis, yeah, big Ron. I mean, Ron Davis, his brother, was a mountain of a bloke. Paul was very slender, very skillful. The other lad who, as well, was Ronnie Allen's son, Russell Allen. Very instrumental in, very much like his dad, one of the great players for West Bromwich Albion was Ronnie Allen. And it was his son, I think he left Arsenal, went to Tranmere. Bertie Mee was very much the old style manager. Everybody knows he was a physiotherapist, unheard of, that steps into the manager's shoes. I think he took over from Billy Wright, I think, if my history is right.
He did.
Pardon the pun. And he delegated, and it was Don Howe and Steve Burtonshaw. And the youth team coach at the time I signed was Ernie Wally, who was like a sergeant major type. He was absolutely ruthless. Brutal with young players, but good for us, good for discipline. And then I think it was Ray Crawford and Dave Smith joined. But Don Howe was very influential. But Bertie Mee, I think a lot of things I carry today because of Bertie Mee. His motto was, remember where you are, who you are, and who you represent.
Yeah.
And I always remember when we got through to the final of the FA Youth Cup, same year Arsenal did a double. He took all the youth team players out to one of the best restaurants in Piccadilly, in Haymarket. I think it's called a Hunting Lodge. And we were all going out, all the coaching staff were there as well, because his philosophy was, some of you hopefully are going to make it. You need to know how to conduct yourself in these type of restaurants.
You made 10 appearances for the first team for Arsenal. Was it kind of happy times at Arsenal?
I've got mixed emotions about it because one of the things I remember was being extremely nervous. I'd come all the way through, and I started to become aware of. I wasn't even aware I was the first black player. I just knew there weren't many of us around, and there's a bit of spotlight on it. Across the road at West Ham was Clyde Best, and like Lady Coker, and I think they had the Charles brothers there. There were one or two players up and down the country, but there just weren't any. And cut a long story short, I wasn't convincing enough. Right. And Bircham was very good. I told him, one of the things, you get into the first team, I found the reserves extremely, not easy, but I could cope with the reserves. We had big squads. I couldn't bring myself to go back to the reserves on a regular basis. And I think what really did it was Don Howe went to become manager at West Brom, and Bobby Campbell came in as first team coach, and then they went out and signed Jeff Blockley.
Yeah, from Coventry.
And I thought, well, I saw him in training, I saw him and everything. I thought, nah, I've got to get away from here. I don't think I've got a future here. So I made a decision. But he was very good. He spoke to me and said, if you feel strongly about it. I told him how I felt. I think I spoke briefly to Bob Wilson, get some advice from Bob Wilson. I think was a PFA delegate at the time. But I made the decision very emotionally, and Cambridge United were the first thing to come in for me. And I was so pleased somebody wanted me. I just didn't think of anything else, and I just went.